Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really interesting pile of sources you shared with us.
hmm
They all circle around this idea of English, specifically, the difference between the formal stuff and how people actually talk, casual English.
Right. And how to sound more natural, the whole native speaker idea, too.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack all this for you, pull out the key bits, and, well, help you navigate everyday English a bit more easily. Move past the textbook language, maybe?
It's definitely a gap that needs filling. We've got articles here from Fluent U, English Lab, Angverda, lots covering casual phrases, slang, idioms, those phrasal verbs everyone finds tricky.
Yeah, those are tough.
And there's a Wikipedia page on colloquialism, plus a fascinating Reddit discussion about trying to sound native-like.
Okay, great. I think this is super relevant for anyone learning English, anyone who wants to, just connect more easily when they talk to people. So, yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. It's interesting how these different sources tackle it. You get some really different perspectives locked inside.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. What actually is this casual English or colloquial language the sources talk about?
That's the core, isn't it? If you pull together what places like Wikipedia, Fluent U, English Lab are saying, colloquialism. Let me say that clearly.
Yeah.
Quit-ulism. It's basically the style of language we use in relaxed, informal situations.
Like chatting with friends, family, everyday stuff.
Exactly. It's not for official reports or anything like that. And importantly, English Lab and others point out it doesn't always follow strict formal grammar rules. It's much more flexible, especially when spoken.
Right, so it's definitely different from formal language.
Very different. Formal language is for, official things, writing sometimes.
And English Lab had that interesting point. Using too formal words in casual chat can actually backfire, right? It can sound a bit unnatural, maybe even old-fashioned.
That's a key insight. Using
Uh,
purchase when you could just say buy or reside instead of live.
With that phrase, it is said that.
Yeah, when people say but con, it's just so much more common and natural.
So the takeaway for you, the listener, is that knowing fancy words is one thing, but using them appropriately is another. Trying too hard with formal words might not impress, it might just sound off.
Precisely. It's about matching the language, the register to the situation. That shows real understanding.
Okay, got it. So casual English fits the context. But how is it different from, say, slang or jargon? Are those just types of casual English?
Good question. The sources help draw some lines here. Wikipedia and Fluent U explain that while slang can be part of casual talk, it's narrower. Slang tends to be used by specific groups, maybe an age group or people from a certain place or with a shared interest.
And it changes fast, right?
Really fast, words come and go. Jargon is different. Again, that's the specialized language for a job or a hobby. Think medical jargon or tech speak.
Ah, okay. So casual English or colloquialism is broader. It's the everyday stuff most native speakers understand, like contractions or common idioms, regardless of their job or age.
Exactly. Colloquialism is kind of the shared baseline for informal talk. Slang is often more like an in-group marker.
That makes sense. So let's talk about why this matters for someone learning English. Why focus on this casual stuff?
Well, the sources, especially Fluent U and that Reddit thread, they really hammed this home. If you want to genuinely understand native speakers in relaxed settings and, crucially, connect with them, you need to get comfortable with casual English.
It's how real conversations flow.
It really is. It's how people build rapport, how jokes land, how you show you're relaxed. Sticking rigidly to formal, textbook English can make it hard to follow along and hard for you to sound natural and approachable yourself.
Right. It's like you're missing half the conversation sometimes. Okay, that definitely makes the case for digging into this. So if we know what it is and why it's important for connecting, how do we actually do it? What are the pieces, the building blocks?
Yeah, the toolkit.
Yeah.
Fluent U and Varda give us a good breakdown. First up, just basic casual phrases. These are everywhere.
Like, what's up? Let me say that slowly. What's up? You hear that all the time. It's often just a greeting, right? Like, how are you? Or what's happening?
Exactly. Or, I get it, meaning I understand, but it can also have that emotional layer. And Fluent U mentioned, let's hang out, a super common way to suggest spending time together casually. Importantly, they note it's not the same as asking someone on a date.
Good point from the source. What else? Oh, that's awesome. Just meaning great or cool.
Enthusiastic agreement
Or
or
like,
no
yeah.
big deal, to downplay something, reassure someone, it's fine.
And for real, when you're surprised or can't believe something.
Yeah, these are like conversational glue.
Yeah.
Then there's slang, which we said is group specific, but some terms become widely understood. Fornew had examples like ghost, as someone just stopping all communication suddenly.
Right. Or FOMO, fear of missing out. That one's pretty common now.
It is. And bail, meaning to leave a situation or place, sometimes abruptly.
Okay. What about grammar things?
Contractions, let's say that clearly. Contractions. Both English Lab and Fluent U flag these as absolutely essential for sounding natural when you speak.
Like I'm, don't, can't.
All of those. English Lab is pretty clear. Not using them in speech sounds very formal, almost robotic.
Definitely something to practice.
Absolutely. You avoid them mostly in formal writing, but in speech, they're crucial. Fluent U also touches on shortcuts and acronyms, often from online chat, but bleeding into speech sometimes, like saying LOL or IDK for, I don't know, or pics for pictures, info for information.
And those blended words.
Blends, yeah. Fluent U calls them creative, like brunch, breakfast and lunch, or blog from weblog. Frenemy, friend plus enemy.
Right. Okay, what else is in this toolkit?
Okay, this is a big one, highlighted by both Engvarda and English Lab. Phrasal verbs, let me say that slowly too. Phrasal verbs.
Ah, yes. The bane of many learners' existence.
They can be tricky. It's that combination of a verb and a little word, like a preposition or adverb, where the meaning often has nothing to do with the original verb.
Like look after someone means take care of them, nothing to do with looking.
Exactly. And the key insight from these sources is you just have to learn them. Native speakers use them constantly without even thinking. Engvarda and Fluentu give examples like put up with, meaning to tolerate something unpleasant,
Okay.
come across, or bump into someone, meaning to meet them unexpectedly. See, two different ones for a similar idea.
Right.
And hang out. Again, spend time casually shows how common it is. Oh, and take after. Let me say that. Take after. It means to look or act like an older relative.
These are so common, you're right. You really can't avoid them if you want to understand or sound natural.
Definitely not.
Right.
And closely related are idioms, pronounced idioms. These are phrases where the whole meaning is figurative, not literal at all.
Like break the ice to make people feel more comfortable.
Perfect example. Or a piece of cake, meaning something is really easy. Fluent U and Engvarda mention feeling under the weather, or just feeling a bit sick.
Got it. Lots of figurative language.
And just to round it off, Wikipedia mentions informal colloquial names. Let me pronounce that. Colloquial, N-A-Y-M-Z, for things, often medical conditions like tennis elbow or gamer's thumb.
Okay, wow. So it's a whole ecosystem of language, simple greetings, contractions, phrasal verbs, idioms, the stuff of real-life talk.
It absolutely is. And like we touched on, knowing what to use goes hand in hand with knowing what not to use, especially avoiding that overly formal stuff in casual chat.
Which brings us back to those pitfalls of formality. English Lab really focused on this, didn't they? Making that point that a big vocabulary isn't useful if you choose the wrong word for the situation.
Exactly right. It's about appropriateness. Using words that are perfectly correct in a formal essay can sound really strange, even jarring, in a relaxed conversation. English Lab gives quite a few examples.
It's like we said, purchase instead of buy. Or saying you're going to depart when you just mean you're going to leave or go.
Or offering to assist instead of help. Using require when need is much more common. Reside instead of live. Obtain instead of just get. It keeps going.
And it applies to nouns too, right? Saying residence for home or beverage for drink.
Or using persons as the plural of person. In most situations, we just say people. One person, two people. Persons sounds very official, like on a sign.
Yeah, very formal. And connecting words too.
Definitely. Starting a sentence with consequently or therefore in casual speech often sounds too heavy. A simple so or that's why usually fits much better. And that formal structure, it is said that, versus the simple people say.
And again, contractions. English Lab really stresses using I can't, we don't. It's in speech rather than the whole forms I cannot, we do not. It is.
The big takeaway from English Lab here, I think, is that trying to sound correct or educated by using these formal words in the wrong place can actually work against you. It can make you sound less natural, maybe even a bit harder to connect with. Clarity and naturalness, even with simpler words, are often better goals for casual talk.
That's really useful advice for you, the listener. Think about the situation before you choose that fancy word. Okay, finally, let's get to that big, slightly thorny question from the Reddit discussion. This whole idea of sounding like a native speaker.
Yeah, that Reddit thread was really insightful because it shows just how complex people find this goal. A lot of commenters seem to feel that reaching that true native-like level
Hmm.
Mastering all the subtle idioms, the current slang, understanding regional differences, catching all the cultural references often takes years and years of actual immersion, living in an English-speaking place.
So the feeling there was that maybe just studying books and apps isn't quite enough to get you all the way there. You need the real-world environment.
That was definitely a strong perspective on the thread, living the language daily. But importantly, the discussion didn't stop there. People offered some really practical strategies for those who can't just pack up and move.
Okay, like what? Consuming loads of content, right? That came up a lot.
Yes, huge emphasis on that. Watching English movies, TV shows, YouTube, listening to podcasts like this one, audiobooks, just surrounding yourself with the sound and rhythm of natural, varied speech.
It's like passive immersion, kind of, absorbing the patterns.
Exactly. But then there's the active part too, actually speaking. The commenter stressed finding opportunities to talk with native or other advanced speakers regularly, join conversation groups, language exchanges.
And being willing to make mistakes and get corrected.
Crucial. One person specifically said to let people know you want feedback. Don't be afraid of correction. Welcome it.
That's brave, but probably very effective. There was also that interesting tip about using audiobooks while reading the text.
Yeah, someone suggested it initially for dyslexia, but noted it's great for anyone to connect the sound of words with how they look, helping pronunciation and flow. A really practical tip.
Definitely. But maybe the most sort of liberating idea from that whole Reddit discussion was questioning the goal itself.
Right. Several people pointed out that native speaker English isn't one single thing. Native speakers themselves have huge variations in vocabulary, grammar accuracy. Native speakers make mistakes all the time.
So maybe chasing this one perfect, possibly mythical native ideal isn't the most helpful goal.
That seemed to be the conclusion for many. Perhaps the focus should shift towards sounding natural, being understood, communicating effectively in your own voice, rather than perfectly mimicking some abstract standard.
Focusing on clarity and connection, maybe, over perfect replication.
That could be a much less stressful and more achievable aim for many learners.
Wow, okay. We really covered a lot there, digging through all those sources for you.
Yeah, we looked at what casual English actually is, all the different bits that make it up, the phrases, idioms, phrasal verbs.
We talked about why avoiding overly formal language helps you sound more natural in everyday chat.
And we wrestled with that whole complex idea of sounding native and looked at strategies like immersion, consuming content, and just practicing speaking.
And just a reminder, this whole deep dive was put together specifically for you based on the resources you asked us to look into.
We really hope pulling out these insights gives you some practical things to think about and maybe use as you continue learning and using English.
Definitely. And before we finish up this deep dive, here's something for you to maybe mull over. As you go forward with your English, instead of aiming for that one potentially impossible native speaker standard, what if the real goal is finding your voice? Your own comfortable, authentic, effective way of speaking English. One that uses casual language to connect, sure, but still feels like you. What does sounding natural actually mean to you?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. Hey, if you found this conversation helpful or interesting, could you do us a quick favor and hit that like button? It really does help other people find the show.
It does. And we genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below, tell us what resonated with you, or maybe suggest another topic you're curious about that you'd like us to dive into next time.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And of course, hit subscribe so you don't miss our future deep dives. We'll catch you on the next one.